That evening, I was in the worst mood anyone had seen me in for years. I moved through the house like a storm cloud, radiating anger and frustration, and something else, something that looked suspiciously like heartbreak. Maya, sweetheart, what's wrong? My mother asked over dinner. Nothing, I said curtly. It's clearly not nothing. I said it's nothing, Mama, I snapped, then immediately felt guilty. I'm sorry, I had a really bad day. Can we please not talk about it? My mother exchanged a worried look with my father but dropped the subject. I could barely eat, could barely sit still. My mind kept replaying that encounter at the airport over and over. Timothy's shocked face when he saw me. His eyes when he realized Angel was probably his. The way he'd said he'd been looking for me. I didn't know what to believe anymore. Later that evening, after I'd gone to my room and closed the door, Angel found my mother in the kitchen. I didn't hear this conversation. My mother told me about it later, but apparently it went like this. Grandma, Angel whispered, looking around to make sure I wasn't nearby. I think Mommy met someone today. At the airport, my mother looked down at her granddaughter. What do you mean, sweetheart? Well, first, I made Mommy miss her flight and her interview, Angel said, her voice guilty. I saw all those numbers and I got scared and I made a big scene and they kicked us off the plane. Mommy was really mad at me. Oh, honey. But then, Angel continued, while we were sitting in the airport, Mommy met one handsome man. His name is Timothy. He was asking if I was his daughter. He was such a handsome man, Grandma. Really handsome, like Prince in a movie handsome. And Mommy got really, really angry after she talked to him. She's been angry ever since. Her face looked like when I accidentally put salt in her coffee instead of sugar. You know that angry, sad, confused face? My mother told me she froze when she heard the name. The dish she'd been washing slipped from her hands and clattered in the sink. Timothy? She said slowly. Did you say Timothy? Yes, that was his name. Mr. Timothy. Do you know him? Is he famous? Is he a movie star? Because he looked like a movie star. My mother felt her heart start to pound. Timothy, the boy from 7 years ago, the boy who'd gotten me pregnant and disappeared, the boy whose mother had destroyed our entire lives. He was back. Grandma! Angel was looking at her with concern. Are you okay? You look funny, like when you see a spider, all frozen and scared. My mother forced a smile. I'm fine, sweetheart. I'm sure Mommy is just having a bad day, that's all. Not that complicated, just give her some time. She'll come around. But inside, my mother told me she was panicking. She needed to talk to my father immediately. That evening, the television was on in the living room. My father was flipping through channels, looking for the news when he found it. I heard him from my room. Diane, he shouted. Diane, get in here. My mother came running. What? What is it? I came out of my room too, wondering what the commotion was about. My father was pointing at the TV with a shaking hand. Breaking news tonight. Flight 447 to Chicago, which departed earlier this afternoon, has crashed. The aircraft experienced what authorities are calling catastrophic mechanical failure mid-flight. One of the engines failed, and shortly after, the second engine failed as well. The plane went down in a field approximately 30 miles outside of Chicago. There are many casualties. We're getting reports now that there are no survivors among the 167 passengers and crew. The remote fell from my father's hands. I stood there in the doorway, frozen, staring at the screen. My parents looked at each other, then at me. That was your flight, my father whispered. Maya, that was the flight you were supposed to be on. Oh my God, my mother said, her hand flying to her mouth. Oh my God, Marcus. I couldn't move, couldn't speak, couldn't process what I was seeing. Flight 447 to Chicago, our flight, the flight we'd been on, the flight Angel had tried to warn everyone about. All those people, all those passengers who glared at us as we were escorted off the plane. The businessman with his $1 million meeting. The pilot who'd been so calm and certain that nothing was wrong. The flight attendants who'd looked at me like I was a crazy. All of them dead because they wouldn't listen to a 6-year-old girl. My legs gave out. I sank to the floor right there in the hallway, my back against the wall. Maya! My mother rushed to me. Sweetheart, are you okay? We were supposed to be on that plane, I whispered. Mama, we were supposed to be on that plane. My mother pulled me into her arms and I started crying. Really crying, the kind of crying that comes from deep in your chest and won't stop. If Angel hadn't made that scene, if they hadn't kicked us off, we would be dead right now, both of us, gone. That night, after the shock had worn off slightly, if it ever really does, I went to Angel's room. She was already in bed, but she wasn't asleep. She was staring at the ceiling, her little face troubled, tears streaming silently down her cheeks. Baby, I said softly, sitting on the edge of the bed. Angel turned to me with red, swollen eyes. Hi, Mommy. I need to tell you something, I said, gathering my courage, and I need to apologize to you. For what? I'm sorry I yelled at you today. I'm sorry I got angry with you. I guess I vented my frustration on you because I missed my interview. But Angel, my voice broke. You saved us today. That flight had an accident. It crashed. Everyone on it. Everyone died. Angel's eyes went wide. Really? They're all dead? All of them? Yes, baby. Fresh tears spilled down her cheeks. I hope they didn't suffer. I hope it didn't hurt too much. I pulled my daughter into a tight hug and we cried together. You did the right thing today, I told her. You spoke up and you warned it everybody. But they didn't listen. Thank God we got off the flight. Thank God you made them kick us off. Because we're safe, we're alive. And that's because of you. But they didn't believe me, Angel sobbed. Why didn't they believe me, Mommy? Because people are scared of things they don't understand, baby. And your gift, it's special. But it's also scary for people who can't see what you can see. I kissed her forehead and held her until she finally fell asleep, her little hand clutching mine. I stayed with her for a long time after that, watching her breathe, thinking about how close we had come to dying today, and thinking about Timothy, about seeing him again after all these years, about the shock in his eyes when he realized an Angel was his, about everything that had been left unsaid between us. My life had just gotten a whole lot more complicated. Meanwhile, though I didn't know this until later, in another city, Timothy Henderson walked through the door of his mother's mansion. He told me about this conversation weeks later, when we were finally able to talk about everything that had happened. His meeting had been canceled anyway. The client had been on that flight to Chicago that crashed. So he'd come home, his mind racing, his heart pounding. He found his mother in her study, working on her laptop as always. Mom, he said, I saw someone today, and I need to ask you some questions. Mrs. Henderson looked up, her expression neutral. Who did you see? Maya, Timothy said. I saw Maya Marcus. At the airport, after 7 years, his mother's expression didn't change. I see. Do you? Timothy's voice was rising. Do you really? Because I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest with me. Years ago, you forced me to break up my relationship with Maya. You took my phone. Then you told me that her family relocated, that they'd moved away for her father's job, that Maya had moved on. Mrs. Henderson set down her pen carefully. Yes, I did tell you that. I just found out, Timothy continued, his voice shaking with anger, that you actually had her father fired and her mother fired, and you made sure they wouldn't get any help from anybody, which ultimately forced them to move away. Is that true? His mother's face remained stone cold with no emotion. Yes, that's true. How could you? Timothy exploded. How could you be so wicked? You ruined their future. Maya was in school for Christ's sake, and she didn't even know I was your son. In fact, most people didn't know. You made them pay the price for what? Because of your position of power? Son, Mrs. Henderson said calmly, I was trying to protect your future. I couldn't let any gold digger come and tie you down with any pregnancy or claim or any nonsense. Oh, really? Timothy laughed bitterly. And you had to go to that extreme? Just to terminate my relationship with her? Well, guess what, Mother? She has a 6-year-old daughter, and she looks exactly like us. She has our eyes, in fact. And I know, she's my daughter. Mrs. Henderson's composure cracked slightly. Timothy, I'm going to fight for my family, Timothy said firmly. I'm going to fight to reconcile us together. You cannot stop me, and if you want to take your company back, you can take your company back for all I care. I don't want any part of it if I'm going to remain your puppet. If I'm going to remain a slave and not have the opportunity to pursue what I really want. He took a step closer to his mother, his voice dropping but becoming more intense. Because I love Maya. I have loved her since I was 18, and I still love her even till this date. Mrs. Henderson was dumbfounded. Don't bring any bastard into this house, Timothy, she said, her voice cold. I'm warning you. I won't accept any of that. I won't accept that child. Her name is Angel, Timothy said, and she's your granddaughter whether you like it or not. And he walked out. That night, Timothy couldn't sleep. He called his private investigator. James, it's Timothy Henderson. I need your help with something. It's urgent. Within 3 days, he had my address. It was a Thursday afternoon when everything changed again. Angel had just gotten home from school. She was telling my mother about her day, about the spelling test she'd aced and the boy who'd pulled her hair at recess, and how she'd told him that if he did it again, she'd use her special powers to make his hair fall out. My mother had laughed. Angel, you can't tell people that. Why not? It's funny, and it worked. He stopped pulling my hair. I was in the living room with my mother, both of us relaxing after a long day. My father had just returned from the farm, dirty and tired but content. And then there was a knock at the door. I'll get it, Angel shouted, already running before anyone could stop her. She flung open the door and froze. Her mouth fell open, her eyes went wide as saucer. It's him, Mama, she shouted back into the house at the top of her lungs. It's Timothy from the airport. My daddy. I felt my heart stop. Oh no. Oh no, no, no. I jumped up from the couch so fast I almost knocked over the lamp. What? I said, my voice coming out as a strangled whisper. It's him. Angel was practically vibrating with excitement. It's Mr. Timothy. He found us. He's here. My mother, who was sitting on the couch knitting, looked confused. Who is Mr. Timothy? Who's that? But I was already moving toward the door, panic and anger warring inside me. What was he doing here? How did he find us? How did he get our address? Before I could reach the door, Angel had already opened it wide. Come right in, Mr. Timothy, she said with the biggest grin I'd ever seen on her face. Come in. We have cookies. Angel, no. I started, but it was too late. She'd already let him walk right into our living room. Timothy stepped inside, looking completely out of place in his expensive suit and designer shoes, standing in our tiny, modest home with its worn carpet and secondhand furniture. My mother stood up, looking at this stranger with suspicion and confusion. Who are you? I wanted to disappear, wanted the floor to open up and swallow me whole. My hands were shaking. I couldn't believe this was happening. Mom, I said, my voice tight and barely controlled. He's our former boss's son. He's the Timothy from years ago that made us lose everything. What is he doing here? The change in my mother's expression was instant. Confusion melted into fury. Young man, she said, her voice dangerously calm in that way that meant she was absolutely livid. What are you doing here? Timothy looked defeated, nervous, but also determined, like he had made up his mind about something and wasn't going to back down. Good evening, ma'am, he said respectfully. I'm sorry. I showed up unannounced, but I've been looking for your daughter for years now. And there are a lot of things that need to be sorted out between us. And I know a lot of things have happened, and your family has suffered greatly because of me, but I'm here to make amends. Please, would you give me the chance? My mother exploded. And I mean exploded. What amends are you talking about? She shouted, her voice shaking with rage. Your mother destroyed us. She called my daughter names. She fired my husband without severance for no just cause. We couldn't get any help from anybody, which ultimately resulted in Maya dropping out of school. We lost our house. We lost everything, and you couldn't keep it in your pants. You had to defile my innocent daughter. Mommy, Angel said, tugging on my shirt, her voice confused and a little scared by Grandma's shouting. What does defile mean? What is Grandma talking about? Is it like when you drop a file? Did someone drop their files despite everything, despite the tension and the anger? I almost laughed at Angel's innocence. I quickly covered her ears. Baby, it's adult stuff. Come, let's go to the room. I started to pull Angel away from the living room, but not before she got one more look at Timothy, her eyes full of curiosity and something else. Hope, maybe? My mother wasn't done. You guys already drove us out of the state, she continued, her voice getting louder with each word. We're back to our hometown, and you have the nerve to come here and waltz in as if you own the world. You don't own us. You don't own anything here. Please leave my house before I do something I will regret. Ma'am, Timothy tried to explain, taking a step forward with his hands up in a placating gesture. I'm sorry. I didn't know things went that bad. I didn't know you all suffered because of me. Please give me a chance to know my daughter. What daughter? My mother snapped, stepping toward him. How dare you come in here and claim relationship with that child? How dare you show your face after 7 years? I know she's my daughter, Timothy said, and there was confidence in his voice now. The timing is just perfect. 6 years, 3 months, and 2 weeks. I know she's mine. Young man, my mother said, her voice ice cold. You're trespassing on private property. Your family do not own this house. This house still belongs to my family. Please, I would ask you to leave. Leave now. Timothy looked like he wanted to say more, but the look on my mother's face, pure fury mixed with protective mama bear energy, made it clear that staying would only make things worse. He turned and left, his shoulders slumped in defeat. The door closed behind him. My mother stood there, breathing hard, her hands shaking with residual anger. I stood in the hallway with Angel, my own heart pounding. And Angel looked at me with those big knowing eyes of hers. That was my daddy, wasn't it, Mommy? I didn't know what to say, so I just hugged her. That evening, when my father got back from work, we told him everything. His face hardened immediately, his jaw clenching in that way it did when he was trying to control his temper. What did he say he wanted? He demanded. He said he wants to make amends, I said quietly. After all these years, after all his family did to us, I don't want to see that boy anywhere around my granddaughter or you, my father said, his voice dangerous in its calmness. If I see him here again, I'm going to shoot his leg. Don't mind spending the rest of my life in jail. He wasn't joking. I could see it in his eyes. He meant every word. That night, I couldn't sleep. I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, thinking about Timothy, thinking about all the years I'd spent wondering where he was, if he was married, how his life had turned out, if he'd finally married the woman his mother had been grooming him for, some society girl with the right pedigree who could help him run their empire. I'd made my peace with never seeing him again, had convinced myself I was over him, had built walls around my heart so high and thick that nothing could get through. And now that he was back, I had mixed feelings. I didn't know if I should be angry, if I should feel anything at all. I just felt confused and exhausted. And if I was being completely honest with myself, which I tried not to be, a tiny part of me, a part I didn't want to acknowledge, was maybe, possibly, just a little bit happy to see him again. but I squashed that feeling down immediately. Number, I wasn't going there, not again. A few days later, Timothy came back. This time, my father was outside fixing his bike in front of the house when Timothy quietly walked up to him in his sharp suit. I was watching from the window, my heart in my throat. "Good evening, sir," Timothy said. My father looked up, saw who it was, and his expression immediately changed from neutral to hostile. "Yes, what do you want? Why are you back?" "Good evening, sir. I don't mean to trespass again, but I was thinking I could talk to you, maybe explain my side of the story, and I apologize for everything that your family went through because of me." "Apologize?" My father stood up, wiping his hands on a rag. "We don't want your apology. We want you to disappear, vanish completely from our lives. We've been doing well without you. So why now? Why are you back?" "Sir, please," Timothy said, and I could hear the desperation in his voice even from inside the house. "What happened back then? I didn't know that things had spiraled out of control. I didn't know that you suffered because of me, but I want to be in my daughter's life. I know she's mine. Please, sir." My father didn't want to hear it. "Get off my property," he said coldly. Timothy left, but he came back a week later, and when they chased him away again, he came back the following week, this time with gifts, a doll for Angel that she squealed over for hours. The whole house became tense after that. My parents barely spoke to each other, except in clipped sentences. The air felt heavy, like before a thunderstorm. Even Angel noticed it. "What is happening to everybody?" she kept asking, bouncing from room to room, trying to lighten the mood. "Why is everybody acting as if we're in a funeral? Nobody's dying. At least, I don't see any zero timers. So cheer up, Grandma. Cheer up, Grandpa. Cheer up, Mommy. Let's have a dance party or a tickle fight. Or we could make cookies with extra chocolate chips." She'd bounce around with that endless 6-year-old energy, trying to make us smile but in nothing verdict. "Is it Mr. Timothy that is making you sad?" Angel asked one day, sitting on the kitchen counter while I made dinner. "Well, you shouldn't be sad. I really like him. I think he's a cool guy. He has a nice smile, like a movie star smile, and his shoes are really shiny. I bet I could see my face in them." I looked at my daughter, who was swinging her legs and looking at me with those earnest eyes. "And I wouldn't mind if he's my daddy," she continued matter-of-factly. "And he's a rich man. I like rich people. They have good snacks. At least I'd get to go to a big school and have rich friends who maybe have ponies. Do you think he has a pony, Mommy? Can I ask him if he has a pony?" I just looked at her innocent face and shook my head. "We'll see, baby. We'll see." Angel still wasn't fully aware of the chaos that was unfolding in the house, the weight of adult problems that rested on all our shoulders, and I wanted to keep it that way for as long as possible. Just when we thought Timothy had given up, he came back. Again and again, sometimes with gifts for Angel, toys, books, art supplies. Every single week, for 2 months straight. He was nothing if not persistent. I'll give him that. It was early evening, about 8 weeks after Timothy's first visit. My mother, Angel, and I had gone to the supermarket to get some groceries. Angel had insisted on pushing the cart, even though she could barely see over it, nearly taking out a display of canned goods in the process. "Angel, be careful," I'd said. "I am being careful, Mommy." "The cans are just in the way. They should move." Only my father was home when we got back. My mother told me later what happened. My father was flipping through news channels, not really watching anything, just trying to relax after a long day of work. When he heard the knock on the door, he almost ignored it. He was tired. He knew who it probably was, but something made him get up and answer it. It was Timothy, again. My father's face hardened immediately. "You again? What do I need to do to make you stop coming here? Do I need to file a restraining order against you?" "No, sir," Timothy said quickly. "Please don't file a restraining order against me." And then, to my father's complete shock, Timothy dropped to his knees right there on the porch. My father told me later that his jaw literally dropped. In all his years, he'd never seen a man in $1,000 suit kneel in the dirt on someone's porch. "Sir, please," Timothy said, his voice breaking. "Please just listen to me." My father stared at him, speechless. "I was an idiot for what I did," Timothy continued, the words pouring out of him like he'd been holding them in for years. "I deceived your daughter years ago. I took advantage of her. But I genuinely love her. I didn't mean to hide my identity from her. I was just scared. I just wanted to have normalcy in my life. All my life, I've been surrounded by wealth and rich people who only wanted to be around me because of my last name or my mother's money. I just wanted to experience pure friendship, and along the line, it became more than that, and I fell in love with her." Timothy's voice cracked. "But my mom intervened and she messed up everything. And I'm sorry that you had to suffer everything alone. I didn't know that she was pregnant at that time. But please, sir, when I saw her at the airport a few months ago, I made some research and I found out that she was pregnant before she left, before you all left and came back to your hometown. So I'm very sure that little girl is mine." He looked up at my father with desperate, pleading eyes. "So I'm begging you, Mr. Marcus, to please give me a chance to be her father. Give me a chance to be a better man for Maya. Now I have gained power, and my mom can no longer control me as she did years ago. I would no longer allow her to hurt the people I love or control my life. Please, sir, give me a chance to prove myself that I can be a responsible man. Please." My father told me he stood there looking at this man on his knees. Initially, he'd been so mad that he wanted to grab his baseball bat from inside and smash Timothy's head with it. Wanted to hurt him the way this boy and his family had hurt us. But after hearing all those words, seeing the genuine remorse and desperation on Timothy's face, seeing tears actually streaming down this grown man's cheeks, my father softened just a bit. "Come in," he said finally. Timothy looked up, hardly daring to believe it. "Sir." "I said come in," my father repeated, "before I change my mind. And get off your knees. You look ridiculous." Timothy stood up on shaking legs and followed my father into the living room. He sat down nervously in the chair opposite my father, sweating so much he looked like he'd just run a marathon. His hands were shaking. He was fidgeting like a nervous cat about to bolt. "Do you want a beer?" my father asked. Okay. Yes, thank you, sir." "Then you can relax and stop fidgeting like a scared cat," my father said, getting up to grab 2 beers from the kitchen. "You're making me nervous watching you shake like that." "Yes, sir. Thank you, sir," Timothy said nervously, wiping his palms on his expensive pants that probably cost more than our monthly grocery bill. My father returned, handed Timothy a beer, and sat down across from him. For a long moment, neither of them spoke. Finally, my father broke the silence. "Mr. Timothy," he said slowly, measuring each word, "I heard all you have said, and I can see how you have been persistent all these months, trying to be a man, trying to get in touch with your daughter, coming here every week even though we've treated you like garbage. That takes something, stupidity or courage, I'm not sure which." Timothy leaned forward, hanging on every word. "The truth is," my father continued, his voice stern but not unkind, "she's yours. She's yours." Timothy's breath caught in his throat. Hearing it confirmed, hearing it said out loud by my father, it made it real in a way it hadn't been before. "But," my father held up a hand, his expression serious, "it is not in my place to tell my daughter to get back with you. Only she can decide if she wants to get back with you or if she wants you to be in her daughter's life. I can tell you that she's yours until I'm blue in the face, but Maya makes her own decisions. She always has. Stubborn as a mule, that one. Gets it from her mother." "I understand," Timothy said quickly. "I wouldn't want it any other way. I just want a chance. But what I'm concerned about," my father interrupted, his voice taking on a warning tone that made Timothy sit up straighter, "is that you have to figure out your life. I can't have you messing up my daughter's life again like you did 8 years ago. I can't have your mother interfering or trying to ruin her. You have to sort out whatever issue you have with your mother before you come back into her life. Do I make myself clear? Yes, sir, crystal clear. Goodish, my father said, taking a long sip of his beer. Because if you hurt my daughter again, if you hurt my granddaughter, there won't be a third chance. I'll make sure of that. I have sorted everything with my mom, Timothy said earnestly, setting his beer down and leaning forward. She's never going to be a problem anymore. We have an understanding. I made it very clear that if she interferes, I walk away from everything. The company, the money, all of it. I just want to get to know my daughter and make it up to Maya for all the years that she had to raise her alone. My father studied him for a long moment, then nodded slowly. Okay, I would give you an opportunity to talk to her. She will soon be back from the grocery store. Thank you, Timothy said, his voice thick with emotion. Thank you so much, sir. You have no idea what this means to me. I have some idea, my father said. I'm a father too. I know what it's like to love your child more than anything in the world. Just 5 minutes later, they heard voices outside. The front door burst open and Angel came running in like a tiny tornado, her arms full of grocery bags that were way too big for her. Grandpa, we are back, she shouted at the top of her lungs. We've got a lot of cookies. Chocolate chip and oatmeal raisin. We even got candy for you, the ones you like with the peanuts inside. And Mommy let me pick out ice cream, and I got the one with 3 kinds of chocolate in it, because why have one chocolate when you can have 3 chocolates? Am I right? She ran into the living room and immediately saw her grandfather. She dropped the bags, thankfully nothing breakable, and launched herself at him, wrapping her little arms around his neck. That's my angel, Grandpa said with a huge smile, kissing her cheeks repeatedly. That's my favorite granddaughter. Angel pulled back and gave him a look, crossing her arms in that sassy way of hers. But Grandpa, I'm your only granddaughter. Exactly, he said, grinning and booping her nose. That's what makes you so special. You're the best because you're the only. You've got no competition. That's smart thinking, Grandpa. I like it. Just then, Angel noticed Timothy sitting in the chair across from her grandfather. Her whole face lit up like a Christmas tree. You're here again, she practically screamed in excitement. Hello, Mr. Timothy. What have you come to do here today? Did you bring me more presents? Are you going to stay for dinner? Do you like spaghetti? Grandma makes really good spaghetti. Not as good as Mommy's, but don't tell Grandma I said that. It's a secret. Timothy waved back, a nervous smile on his face despite his anxiety. Hello, Angel. I'm here again to talk to your mommy and to sort out some things that we have. Are you going to ask her to marry you? Angel asked bluntly. Because if you are, you should know she really likes flowers. The purple ones. And also chocolate, but not the kind with coconut because she says coconut is just trying to be chocolate but failing miserably. Angel. I heard my mother's voice from the hallway. My mother walked in carrying more grocery bags, with me right behind her. The moment I saw Timothy sitting there in our living room, my heart stopped. What was he doing here? Had my father actually let him in? My mother immediately took Angel by the hand. Come, sweetheart, she said, her voice tight. Let's go put these groceries away and let the adults talk. But I want to stay, Angel protested. I wanted to talk to Mr. Timothy. Angel, come on, my mother said more firmly. Can I at least tell him about my science project first? It's about volcanoes and it's really cool and... Now, Angel. She led Angel toward the kitchen, but I could hear Angel chattering the whole way. And then the volcano explodes and there's lava everywhere. And my teacher said it was the best volcano in the whole class and I got a gold star and... My father stood up. I'll help with those bags, he said, giving Timothy and me a meaningful look before leaving the room. And then it was just me and Timothy, alone, in my living room. After 7 years, I stood there frozen in the doorway. Timothy stood up nervously. Hi, Maya, he said softly. Hi, I said, my voice coming out strangled. For a long moment, we just stared at each other. I didn't know where to look, didn't know what to do with my hands, settled for crossing my arms over my chest defensively. Timothy sat back down slowly. I sat on the couch across from him, as far away as possible. We sat there nervously, both looking everywhere but at each other, not knowing what to say after so many years. The silence stretched out, awkward and heavy, like a physical thing pressing down on us. I could hear the clock on the wall ticking, could hear Angel's muffled voice from the kitchen, could hear my own heartbeat thundering in my ears. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, Timothy cleared his throat. "I'm sorry, Maya," he said quietly, "for everything you've been through. My mother was so cruel to you and your family. I'm sorry you had to go through so much stress. And I'm particularly very sorry that I didn't disclose my identity to you years ago." I looked at him, but didn't say anything. Couldn't say anything. There was a lump in my throat the size of a baseball. "I loved what we had," Timothy continued, his voice sincere and raw in a whisper I'd never heard before. "I loved the friendship we shared and what was going on between us. I didn't want to risk losing it because of who I was. I was planning to tell you, but I didn't think things were going to go out of control like they did. So please forgive me." I looked at him, at this man who was the only man I'd ever loved, the man I'd given my virginity to, the father of my child, the man who'd broken my heart into a million pieces and then disappeared. I had so many mixed feelings. I didn't know what to say. Tears sprang to my eyes before I could stop them. "Why did you have to hide the fact that you were the CEO's son?" I said finally, my voice shaking with 7 years of pent-up anger and hurt. "Our lives would have been so much better if you had just been honest. Your mother called me names, called me a gold digger, a street rat. She frustrated my family, destroyed everything we had, just because I was friends with you and I didn't even know who you were. Can you beat the irony?" A tear slid down my cheek, then another. "Do you know what it's like," I continued, my voice breaking, "to be called trash by someone who doesn't even know you? To watch your father lose his job because of you? To watch your mother get fired because of you? To have to drop out of college because of you? To raise a child alone because the father just disappeared?" "I know," Timothy said, and now there were tears in his eyes too. "I know, and I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I want to make it up to you. I spent years looking for you, and I couldn't find you. I didn't know you were back in your hometown. I hired private investigators. I searched every database I could access. I drove my assistant crazy with demands to find you. Please forgive me. I want to be a better dad to Angel. I want to be in her life. Please." After a moment of silence, I finally shook my head slowly. "Okay," I said quietly. Timothy looked up, hardly daring to hope. "I'll still have to tell Meyerby," I said, wiping my eyes, "that you are her father. I guess she's already suspecting. The girl's too smart for her own good. She notices everything. I would just have to tell her officially. But you have to take it slow, Timothy. You can't just waltz in and try to be super dad overnight. She needs time to adjust." "Of course," Timothy said quickly. "Whatever you need, whatever pace you're comfortable with. And whatever it is that is going on with your mom," I said, my voice hardening, "you need to sort it out. I don't want your mom bringing her negative energy to affect my child. I'm not going to take it and sit down and keep quiet anymore. I'm not that scared 20-year-old girl you knew. I'm a mother now, and I will protect my daughter from anyone who tries to hurt her, even your mother." "I understand," Timothy said earnestly. "I promise. My mother won't be a problem. I've made that very clear to her, and I'll take it as slow as you need, whatever you're comfortable with. I'm just grateful you're giving me this chance." I nodded, not trusting my voice anymore. For the first time since he'd walked back into my life, I felt a tiny glimmer of hope. Maybe, just maybe, we could figure this out. After our awkward conversation and negotiation, I finally went into Angel's room. My mother had taken her there to give Timothy and me privacy, and now Angel was lying on her bed, watching cartoons on her iPad, occasionally giggling at something SpongeBob was doing. "Baby," I said, sitting on the edge of the bed, "there's something I want to tell you." Angel looked up from her iPad, her eyes bright and curious. "You want to tell me that Mr. Timothy is my dad?" I blinked in surprise. "What?" "Oh, I already know," Angel said matter-of-factly, sitting up and setting her iPad aside. "We look alike." "Yes, I noticed. He has the same eye color as I do. Beautiful blue eyes, like the ocean, or like those fancy marbles in the toy store." "I already know. That's my daddy. Is he back in our lives now? Does he want us now? Does he want me now?" I shouldn't have been surprised. Angel was always too observant for her own good, too smart, too perceptive. "Yes, baby," I said carefully. "He wants you in his life." "What about you?" Angel asked, her voice suddenly serious in that way only 6-year-olds can be, cutting straight to the heart of things. "Doesn't he want you?" "Well, baby, it's complicated between me and him," I said, trying to figure out how to explain adult relationships to a 6-year-old. "We'll have to settle it. We have a lot of things to figure out." Angel sat up straight, crossing her arms in a way that reminded me uncomfortably of my mother. "We'll figure it out fast, because if he doesn't want you, then I don't want him. If he wants me, then he needs to want you too. We are all going to be a family, or I don't want him. He should go away and find some other kid to be a daddy to." "Angel," I tried to explain. "I'm serious, Mommy," Angel interrupted, her little face fierce with determination. "You're a package deal. That's what Grandma always says. When you get one of us, you get both of us. That's how it works. You can't just cherry pick the good parts and leave the rest. That's not fair." "Maybe you can't see that," I started. "I can see it," Angel said stubbornly. "I see lots of things, remember? I see timers, and I see when people are home, and I see when people are in love, even when they don't know it yet. And I think you still love him, Mommy, even though you don't want to. Sometimes my daughter was way too perceptive for comfort. You have to get to know him," I said, changing the subject. "Let us reconcile first, then every other thing can follow. He's in the living room and he wants to say hi. Do you want to say hi to him?" "Yes," Angel said, already scrambling off the bed. "I want to say hi to him so I can tell him my mind." "I have lots of things to say." "Angel, be nice." "I'm always nice, Mommy. Nice but honest. Grandpa says that's the best way to be." Angel marched to the living room with her hands on her waist, looking like a tiny warrior about to go into battle, or maybe a tiny drill sergeant about to inspect her troops. I followed behind her, my heart in my throat. Timothy stood up when he saw her coming, suddenly looking nervous again. "Hello, Mr. Timothy," Angel said, her voice serious and businesslike. "Mr. Daddy, welcome back. Mommy said you didn't want us for a long time. Is that true?" "That's not true," Timothy said quickly, crouching down to her level. "That's not true at all." "Well, okay," Angel said, studying him carefully like she was trying to see through him with her X-ray vision or something. "Now that you're back and you want us, if you don't want Mommy, then I don't want you. The only way I'm going to accept you as my daddy is if we are all a family, together like in the movies. You, me, and Mommy. Maybe we can get a dog too. Do you like dogs?" Timothy looked at her and smiled, tears already forming in his eyes. "Baby girl," he said, his voice thick with emotion. "That's my plan. I want to reconcile with Mommy and you, and I want you both in my life as a family. Okay, I wouldn't want this any other way. I love you and I love Mommy, and we can definitely talk about getting a dog." Angel looked at him for a long moment, tilting her head to the side like she was trying to read his timer or his soul or something. Then she smiled. "Okay, that's good. I like you already. You're cool, Dad. All right, I'll forgive you for abandoning Mommy and I. But just this once, if you do it again, I'll use my special powers on you." "Special powers?" Timothy asked, confused. "I'll tell you about them later," Angel said mysteriously. "They're very impressive." Timothy couldn't help the tears that slid down his face. "Can I give you a hug?" he asked carefully, his voice breaking. Oh yes, Angel said brightly. You can give me a hug. It's free. I'm such a lovely girl and I smell nice. I used Mommy's fancy soap today, the one that smells like lavender. She threw her arms around his neck, and Timothy wrapped his arms around his daughter for the first time, holding her like she was the most precious thing in the world. Because she was. I stood at the door watching the exchange with a mixture of pride, sorrow, sadness, and joy, all tangled together in my chest like a knot I couldn't untie. This was my daughter, and this was her father. And maybe, just maybe, we could make this work. This is not the end. Stay tuned for the final episode and drama with Mrs. Henderson, Timothy's mother. If you have enjoyed watching this series up to this point, type final episode in the comments below. Don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel. See you in the next one.